Do you even know what peace is? I guess is probably my first question, because I think that's the foundation. If people don't know what peace looks like in their life,
Yeah.
it's a moving target.
Right.
So if you could say, like, on your ultimate peaceful day, like, how do you know you've achieved that? Like, what is it you look for?
So for me, peace isn't it doesn't look like anything or anything that I look for. It's more of a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's very internal. It's an emotion for me. And what I got excited about was the fact that I really found peace before the fight.
Yep.
And I felt so calm, so much calmer than with my debut. And I spent some time literally meditating backstage on the mat, just sitting down, connecting with the breath. Breath is huge,
Yep.
in and out of the cage. So I found myself too in the cage during the fight of like catching my breath, finding my breath. I think breath is a huge part of finding peace. Controlling your breath, taking deep breaths.
Right.
But for me, it's definitely an emotion that's very attached to the breath, breathing deeply, and it's a calm kind of stillness, no matter what's going on around you. I mean, there was a moment before the fight where I closed my eyes, and there's a lot of commotion. There's fights going on, but I was totally at peace, knowing that I was about to go into war in the cage.
Yeah.
And I think that empowered me while I was in there. It was funny. I had my family and some friends saying, dude, like, you were making some crazy ass faces, like, once you got in the cage and you were like ready to go. I was like, yeah. And you know what? I think what happened is that I was so calm and so at peace before and walking up to it that once I got in there, I was like, all right, I need to kind of get some of this fierceness out, and feel into that a little bit more. But yeah, for me, it's all internal. It's an emotion of calm stillness, and it's definitely connected to the breath. If you're taking long, deep, slow breaths, more than likely what's going to result is feelings and emotions of peace.
Yeah, that's good. And I think for me, I've learned to measure my peace. And so I think peace is twofold, right? One is what you feel, and two is what you emit. But I think they are in synchronization. I can't be super scattered inside, my mind's racing, and show up and emit calmness to you. You'll sense that, right? Like that's that, like going back to our vibration episodes. So for me, I know I've had a peaceful day, or I'm in a peaceful moment when I'm talking to you and the only thoughts I have are about us.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's something I learned through this process. And I think I told you, as I started dealing with some anxiety and stuff that I'd never felt before in my life, was I knew that was taking place when my mind was racing and whatever I was doing was no longer part of my thoughts. My thoughts were everywhere but where I was.
Yeah.
And so that's how I take inventory, if you will, or accountability, is if I'm here talking to you, but I'm thinking of this, and I know I'm not being at peace. So then I go to exactly what you talk about. How do I bring myself back? And that's that breath control.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, I like box breathing. I know there's a ton of different techniques, but, you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. And when you start doing that, then what I like about that is when I start thinking about counting my breathing, the only place I can go is right here.
Mm-hmm.
Because now my whole focus is on breathe in, hold for 4, out for 4. Which then puts me right back. So I've gotten a lot better at recognizing when I'm being uneasy or I'm starting down that path to cut it off quicker. But that came with experience, because before it was getting so far out that it was like a panic attack.
Yeah.
But I think that's how I do, and that's how I try to keep myself honest with that.
Yeah, I like that analogy of peace being presence. Right, because when you're, like you were saying, when you're scatterbrained like that, that's not that calm peace.
It's not, and you sense it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, the minute somebody walks in a room, if they're focused on what's taking place here, or they're already down the road in their car going to get dinner, you know what I mean? You know that.
Yeah.
And for me, that's really it's kind of opposite of what I was taught most of my life of the importance of multitasking. To be able to do so many things at once
Right.
actually is the opposite of being at peace in the moment. But we put such a priority on being able to do so many things at once that you weren't really there.
Yeah. And a lot of us spend so much time thinking about the past or the future and don't spend as much time being really conscious of the present moment. Even when it's something that we're doing, we always need some sort of distraction, right? Like eating lunch. Like, when's the last time you ate lunch alone with no TV, no phone, no nothing, and we're really just being in the moment having a meal?
Yeah.
Right? It's rare.
Yeah.
I don't do it that. I usually have something turned on,
Yeah.
and that's just an example of something that we do every day, consume food. It's hard for a lot of us to be just still and very, very present and aware. I think I talked about this in an episode. There's a study that put a bunch of college students in a room for
the
10
buzzer.
minutes. Yeah, with just a button that would electrocute you.
Yeah.
It would give you a little shock. And it was like 92% of people couldn't sit in the room for 10 minutes in total silence by themselves. They wanted to feel something, so 90-something% of them just shocked themselves to feel something.
Yeah.
That's how busy our minds are, our monkey brains are, that we're always going. So it can be hard for a lot of us to go about our day in complete peace.
So for me, I know I'm heading to a place that's opposite of where I want to be when my thoughts start going fast. So that's my cue to start focusing on breathing and slow everything back down. So I encourage our community, start taking note. And I just shared this with somebody the other day that was struggling with something, and she's like, well, it just hit me right at this moment. So I was like, well, let's maybe keep a journal nearby. And when you get these feelings, write down what's taking place to help trigger that or cause that. Because I do think it's easy to want to be peaceful. It's easy to want to be present, but sometimes it's hard to do.
Yeah.
So knowing what's pulling you away and being able to get it back, for me, breathing is huge.